So we started talking about David. Okay. Now, David, we know him to be this lovely, sweet shepherd sitting under a tree. Yes. And he is the one that's going to pick to be the king, the next king, eventually, after he grows up a little bit, because he's still too young. And there is right now a current king. His name is King Saul. Now, King Saul was given this job by God to be a help to him. Okay. And then now he has had an attitude problem, and so it's not working. Okay, so he's done something naughty, and so he cannot be the king anymore. Eventually, he's going to have to step down and leave. And that's interesting. Okay, so God sent Samuel to pick the next king. That's David. Now we said that David went back and he was a shepherd after that. Okay, in the meantime, this is what happens. There was always this battle going on as people trying to take back over the land that has been given to God's people. And so there happened to be this battle that come up, this group of people called the Philistines. Doesn't that sound even terrible? The Philistines. Not very exciting people at all. Okay, now, they were known to be pretty tall people, but this one gentleman in particular, by the name of Goliath, that's right, Goliath, the Bible says that Goliath was 9.5 feet tall. Okay, that's 9.5 rulers. Hang on one second. My yardstick has gone missing. Someone has borrowed my yardstick and has not returned it. So I have a ruler somewhere in the world. Hang on. That's why Mrs. Coon has a special little chart here. Okay, here we go. Ruler. Okay, so I need 9.5 of these. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's higher than my ceiling. That's higher than my ceiling. That's not the ceiling. There's the ceiling. That's higher than my ceiling. Okay, so he's 9.5 feet. All right. Now, that is quite a lot of bigness going on there. Now, it also says that he had on his head a bronze helmet. So his helmet is going to weigh a ton. It says that his body had a 200-pound coat of armor. That's very heavy. And it would stop the arrows and spears from poking into him. His coat had small metal plates all over it, so it looked like fish scales on top of each other for added protection. He had on heavy metal shoes, which came up over his legs to protect him, so that you could not take a sword and smack at his feet and then knock him down that way. Even his back was covered with a big piece of brass. Goliath carried a long spear, several inches thick, tipped with 25-pound iron spearhead. So the top of the spear part, was 25 pounds. He had a javelin, like another type of sword, and sword slung over his shoulder. And his armor bearer, which was another person who carried all of his stuff, walked ahead of him with a huge shield. So he could not even hold his shield with all this stuff that he had on. He has someone holding this big, huge thing, walking in front of him to protect him even more. Okay, this is one big, tall, heavy dude. Now, the Philistines are trying to take back over the land that Saul is in charge of, King Saul is in charge of. And they're coming out, and they come to this rocky spot. Okay, you ready? Okay. And so they come to this place of battle. So he's on one side of the cliff, and this is Saul, King Saul, and his people on this side. And there's this huge space in between. And check it out. Look at it. Now, this would be his armor bearer. See, he's holding the shield. See that? Okay. So here is Goliath. So Goliath gets up every day, and he says he hollers across. He has a big booming voice. Who is going to come fight me today? who is going to come over here and fight me today? And then he does this all the time. And he jokes about him, he laughs at him, he mocks at him the whole bit. And so he says to them, he says, do you need a whole army to come out and fight? I'm a Philistine champion. You are the soldiers of King Saul. Choose a man of Israel to come out and fight me. So he's telling them, yeah, come on. Okay. He says this, if the man is able to kill me, then we will be your slaves forever. But if I kill him in the battle, then you will be our slaves. Yes. And so he goes on and on about that. And so he's like giving them a hard time because he knows they're supposed to be the people that believe in God. They're supposed to, that God's done all these great things for. Who is this God that you believe in and you're not willing to come over here and help me if he can help you? Blah, 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 blah. And so he goes on and on and on and on and on all about all this. And he's trying to get them to come over and fight him because they want to take back over the land. So this is the separation point. So you can see they're still standing over there. They're doing nothing. King Saul just kind of, what did he say today? Because he's still, in his camp over here, way over here. No, he's not going to go fight him. I mean, you're talking about, here to here. There's a big difference in people. They weren't the same height here. Whoops. They weren't the same height here. And so you're talking about seeing something a little bit on the different side here. That would be like, maybe like your height compared to my height. I mean, because I'm taller than you. Okay. And that's no problem with that. It's the way it's supposed to be. But he's so much taller and he's so powerful and he's a Philistine and, so there's some scaredness going on there. There's not a lot of bravery going on there. And so, so it's a pretty big deal because each day Goliath comes out and he's trying to find out who is going to come and fight him. But every day it's the same thing. Nobody comes out. And then in the meantime, all of this is going on. Who's sitting under a tree? It's Daniel under David. Sorry. David under a tree. It's David with his sheep sitting nicely. Okay, so here's what has happened. A couple of David's brothers have gone on, some of his older brothers have gone on to fight in the army. And his brothers sends word, his father hasn't heard anything. The brothers were supposed to send word back to their father saying that they were okay and how things were doing, but they've been a little busy. They've been a little busy because of Goliath, yelling at everybody every day. So father sends word to David, I want you to go check on your brothers. So you're going to need to leave the sheep with somebody, and I want you to take, now, this is what he's supposed to take with him. Take this roasted corn and 10 loaves of bread to your brothers. Take 10 cheeses for their captain. So he's made some cheese. I love cheese. He's made some cheese. Take this cheese to the captains that your brothers are that are over your brothers so that they have a nice treat. And then here's something for your brothers and go give it to him. And David says, okay. And so he leaves his sheep with someone, a sheep keeper. Instead of a shepherd, a sheep keeper. And so he then takes this stuff and he goes off to see his brothers and check on them and see how they're doing. Taking his roasted corn and 10 loaves of bread and 10 cheeses. I guess that's a lot of people. And we'll see what happens.